Today we've got something brand new from Tom Ford. It's Grey Vetiver Parfum. I've got to say, this was the last thing I was expecting to see from Tom Ford. You know, I wasn't even thinking really of a new release from them this year. However, if I were to guess, it would be, you know, bringing another private blend over to their signature line or whatever you would call it, like they did with Beau de Jour and Ombre Leather Parfum and Costa Azzurra and things like that. You know, I would expect to see something like that because these Grey Vetiver flankers are few and far between. So it actually started in 2009 with an eau de parfum concentration. Grey Vetiver EDP. You know, this is where it all started. In 2014, they came out with Grey Vetiver Eau de Toilette. A little bit lighter, a little bit fresher, that sort of thing. As if the eau de parfum isn't already on the light and fresh end for a vetiver scent, in my opinion. But great flankers, great fragrances, really nice, clean vetivers. You know, it's a nice take on that DNA. And now in 2023, so pretty big gap, we have a parfum. So this is a true parfum concentration, 100 ml bottle, and I paid $235 for this at full retail. And it is available now at like Macy's and Saks and I think Dillard's and places like that. So here we go. Really sharp looking bottle. I love it. I think it looks great. So they're using the same finish that they did with something like, you know, Black Orchid Parfum, which I believe is in that gold bottle. So it has that same type of feeling, but obviously instead of gold, we have a nice platinum looking gray. Looks really, really cool. Man, that's nice. You know, unfingerprinted and all of that good stuff, at least for now. Pretty sharp looking. So let's get this one on skin and we'll see how this one holds up against the rest of the line. Pretty modest atomizers on these. Nothing special, not pressurized. I would like it to be given the price, but whatever. So this one definitely has more of a earthy, smoky vetiver to it. So almost kind of like a Terre d'Hermès Eau Intense vetiver type of vetiver accord. Now I'm not comparing this to that, but I'm just saying the type of vetiver that's being used here, or I guess even you know, kind of just a more earthy take on vetiver here, so to speak, at least initially. You know, it kind of has that dirtiness and that earthiness that you don't really get from Grey Vetiver Eau de Parfum, and especially not the Eau de Toilette. So it, to me, does already feel like a true parfum flanker. You know, something that's heavier, richer, a little bit spicy as well. Now, the note breakdown is interesting, aside from the obvious. The only others they give us are saffron and orange blossom. At least I think. Let me double check. I know it's saffron, but yeah, orange blossom. So 3 note breakdown, that's the new thing, but you know, it's interesting, right? The saffron you do pick up on. Adds a really nice dash of a warm spice in here. You get it off the top when you first spray it. Now as it's starting to settle down to something here, I'm still picking up on that. Really gives it a nice texture, a nice variety. And you know what it is? It kind of also fits this one or places it into a similar feeling of something like Guerlain's vetiver. You know, that one uses like a tobacco and some other warm, spicy notes as well, alongside a pretty hefty, substantial vetiver note. And again, I'm not saying that this smells like the Guerlain, but I'm trying to place it in different categories for you so you can kind of understand how it stacks up against some of the others on the market. Because vetiver is a very interesting note in that it has so many different varieties and can be used in so many different ways. But I do really like that. I like that warm spiciness that you're getting out of this one that is pretty much absent in the other versions of this. As far as the orange blossom goes, I don't really get a ton of that off the top. You know, it's going to be their fresh note, the only one that they're giving us here, and I'm not getting a ton of it. It pretty much dives straight into a vetiver, straight into a rich kind of smoky woodiness with a little bit of a warm spiciness alongside that, which definitely makes it more interesting and a little bit more of a kind of an enthusiast scent to me. So I think the original Eau de Parfum and the Eau de Toilette are vetiver scents that are basically made for any guy. You know, Guerlain Vetiver, I think, can be a little bit iffy. Something like Ancre Noir can also be very much iffy. You know, even your Terre d'Hermes Eau Intense Vetiver can be on the line. But I think when it comes down to it, you know, you've got your Tom Ford Grey Vetiver and, you know, your Roja Parfums Vetiver, to name a couple that are super easy to pull off that any guy will like, right? When it comes down to something like this, it's going to be a little bit more enthusiast driven. It's going to be something that not everyone is going to jive with like they would with some of the others, because this is a vetiver that's pushing it just a little bit more. Now, that's not to say that this has lost its way and that it's super earthy and really hard to pull off and not at all versatile. It's not that either. And I will also say that now that it's having a little bit more time to settle down, it's softening up and smoothing out just a little bit more, kind of falling back in the tracks of the Eau de Parfum a little bit, not enough to where it's now going to be a redundant purchase, but kind of getting, you know, back into that type of motion, you know. But the opening really will throw you off. And if you're someone who's been wearing Grey Vetiver for years at this point, you know, and again, there's not very many versions out there, this would throw you off. But I think it's a true parfum. I think that it's accomplishing what I would expect to get out of a parfum flanker. Something that's heavier, richer, and a little bit more interesting, you know. When it comes down to it, vetiver, yes, there's so many different ways to use it, but also you do have a lot out there that can kind of start to run together and smell somewhat similar. Again, after all, they are all kind of revolving around one note in particular, the vetiver fragrances, that is, you know, the ones that are putting it at the forefront. So this is one that will kind of do a good job of separating it from the pack. In terms of performance, we'll have to see. Right now, it's doing fine, right? I would hope so, not even 10 minutes into the video. But, you know, you can usually kind of tell pretty soon on if it's going to be something that falls flat and has no projection and that's going to be weak. Or, you know, you can kind of get a pretty good idea within the first 10 or 15 minutes if it's going to be something that will have some sort of potency behind it. And I think this is going to be softer in terms of its projection. I think it's going to leave a pretty heavy trail, but it's not going to push out a lot in typical parfum fashion. And I also have a pretty good feeling that's going to do okay in the longevity department. I'm not expecting, you know, 12 or 14 hours out of this. That would be nice. I don't really see that being a realistic target. But if you could get 8.5 to 9 on an average consistent basis out of this one, I think that would be acceptable. You know, yes, you can make the argument that it's very expensive and should be more than that, but take a look at the market right now and how the price to performance ratio goes when you start getting up into some of these big boy expensive scents, right? It doesn't always go in that direction. Oftentimes it doesn't at all. You know, $235 for 100 mil, it's not really affordable. You know, it's a pretty expensive scent. So you would want something that lasts good, and I think a realistic 9 hours is something I would shoot for. Ultimately, this is the type of thing that you're not going to wear to go clubbing or to go to parties or something in the evening when you get off work and party through all night, you know, and wake up in the morning and keep on going. This isn't that type of thing. You know, this is something that you're going to wear to work, you know, to the office, to school, perhaps even college. You know, this is the type of thing that you spray on in the morning when you're getting your day started, and it'll still be hanging around, maybe by a thread, though, by the end of the day. Yeah, it's a clean vetiver scent after all. Has a little bit more of a spicy richness, but ultimately it's nothing super crazy that you would want obnoxious performance out of. You know, that would be very uncharacteristic of this type of scent DNA if it was completely unhinged in beast mode. So don't go looking for that here. I do like it. You know, it begs the question, is it worth, you know, after tax and shipping, nearing $250? For a lot of people, probably not. Grey Vetiver, the Eau de Parfum, is also not crazy cheap either. I think on discounters it's like $165 last time I checked here relatively recently. So, you know, about $100 less, still not cheap. If you have the Eau de Parfum, I think you're probably going to be set, I would say. I don't see this being one that everyone is going to want to rush out and get if you have the Eau de Parfum and or the Eau de Toilette. The EDP is the easier one to get. So, you know, as it dries down further, again, it falls more so into the tracks of the Eau de Parfum. The opening really does set this one off on a different direction, and I kind of wish that the opening would have kept going It's still different compared to the others, still heavier and earthier and, you know, that sort of thing. But I really wish that saffron would keep kicking right now, because that was a really cool aspect of this one. It's going to be a decent compliment getter. It's going to smell clean. It's going to smell well put together, refined, sophisticated, and very expensive smelling. I will give them that. You know, when it comes to spending your money on a Tom Ford product, fragrances in particular, they do smell their price. I mean, this doesn't smell cheap either in quality or just the scent itself. Pretty much all their scents have a premium, kind of next level, expensive, rich smell to them that people will probably pick up on as well. I mean, this doesn't smell like a Nautica either in quality or just scent itself. I mean, this does smell like a high-end product, so that is a plus. But again, it's a pretty big price to pay. That's going to do it for me, guys. Tom Ford Grey Vetiver Parfum. Love the bottle. I really like the scent. I can't say that I'm head over heels in love with this one. It's a vetiver after all, and I love my vetiver scents, but, you know, out of all of my favorites, none of them are really things that completely blow me away. You know, maybe Elysium would be the one that I like the most, and it's not even a vetiver. I mean, it uses vetiver heavily, but it's not Rosa Parfum's vetiver, Guerlain vetiver, things of that nature. I really like how it's used in Elysium. That's about the only heavy vetiver scent that just, you know, completely crushes it and blows me away. This is not something that I would get overly excited about, but I do like it. I'm happy to have it around. I have a mailing list you can sign up to. As soon as this one hits discounters for a price below retail, I'll shoot an email out to you, allowing you the opportunity to get it at that discounted price at the link down below, along with anything else that might be rare, discontinued, or hard to find. If you want to save money, get on that list. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.